you. Good morning. Oh, don't make me serve you Coca-Cola. I will give every one of you a shot of energizing refreshment if that's how we're going to roll. Okay, good morning. Good morning. Good, good. So I'm delighted to be here and talk to you a little bit. What a fantastic venue, by the way. Talk to you a little bit about what we're doing at the Coca-Cola Company in terms of our ambitions for better consumer engagement, marketing communications, better marketing. It's not about me, so hopefully my presentation will come up. Oh, it's coming. Let's wait for it. I'll just start on, I start every one of my presentations with a quote from Nilofer Merchant. Nilofer is a strategic thinker, a business consultant, and she says today's successful leaders have to do two things. They have to both manage the present while inventing the future. And on its surface, that sounds reasonable, right? You go, okay, I get it. I got to manage this present, I got to invent the future. Until we start thinking about this thing called the present, right? It's always on. It's 24/7. It's thorny. It's ever-changing. You know, you're trying to get your arms around this thing called the present. And at the same time, as a leader, you're supposed to invent the future. And it is actually much harder, I think, than it sounds on its surface. So at Coca-Cola, as we started to think about this, we think about our history. We've been around for 127 years. We operate in 207 countries around the world. And we have over 500 brands, and there are 1.8 billion servings of our beverages every day. So a huge operation. But then when we put that in context against someone like YouTube, a 8-year-old company, they actually serve almost 2 times as many pages every day as we do beverages. So if you don't think the world has changed, I think that's exhibit A, that the world has in fact changed. So when we think about all the content that's out there, right, there's more content that we can even begin to fathom. Last year on its 7th birthday, YouTube announced they were uploading 42 hours of content every minute of every day. That's just one place. We know that consumers are exposed to more than 6,000 brand impressions every day. What happens with this content? Well, it spreads. It spreads immediately around the world, horizontally. For a company like ours in 207 markets, that's a good thing. We call that productivity. It also scales. It scales vertically to all these endpoints. We believe everything can communicate, right? So we're looking at the opportunity and the ways that we can spread that message and that we can brand across owned, earned, shared, and paid media with social at the heart. There's my little boy. He's kind of seeing the screen back here. Now, what's changed for us as marketers is that that happens in real time now. There's no such thing as putting the toothpaste back in the tube, right? Once it's out, it's gone. And one of the things I think that's hard for companies like ours, 127-year-old companies, is to reckon with the fact that you don't control the message anymore. I mean, for years, let's be honest, we controlled the message. It was a one-way system. We shaped it up, we put it out, and we put it, there's not any two-way dialogue on our brands. We didn't have to listen to people. I mean, just think about it, right? But that happens in real time. And the point that I think all brands and companies have now had to learn is that the truth is irrelevant. It's my truth, it's your truth, it's her truth. We all come together with our own truths, which are largely shaped by social networks. And companies and brands now have to meet their consumers at their truth and work them back. So here's my presentation. We'll catch up, see how I did. Now we're stuck. World has changed, I'm just telling you on that. Okay, we've done scale spread in real time. Okay, we're caught up. And the kicker that if we have all this content, this scale, this spread that happens in real time, the thing as marketers that really hurts our feelings is that all of this will happen with or without us. Whether we get out of bed tomorrow or not is largely inconsequential to the volume of conversation that is taking place on our brands. So this is our target, teens and young adults. They're an affable bunch. Not only are they comfortable in this environment, they know no differently. They know no other time and space. I have 3 children. The oldest is 11. She's currently negotiating hard for that first mobile phone. And a couple of months ago, in her argument, she said to me, "But Mommy, how old were you when you got your mobile phone?" Like, this is like getting your ears pierced, right? You know no differently. And I answered, 27. And she said, "I am not waiting till I am 27 to get a mobile phone," right? They know no differently. Here's a picture from one of our focus groups done by one of our agencies. You can see there, they've drawn this teenager in Italy's drawn a picture of themselves on the stage. What do they want? They want lights, they want money, they want fame. They don't even know what they want. In this same group, the quote is, "I want a life in which I am the protagonist. I do not want a boring life." And in these same groups, these teenagers will say, "When I put content into my social network, I have a built-in expectation of the type of engagement I will get from that, the number of likes, the number of comments, the number of shares. And if I don't reach that expectation," and they say this, "I feel like a personal failure." We cannot process feeling like a personal failure because our photo did not get enough likes, right? We cannot process that. But that is how important social networks are to teens and young adults. And so when people say to me, "Wendy, I'm not sure there's a role for brands and companies in a socially networked world," I would give you that as Exhibit A, right? If you can give teens and young adults the currency that they rate their lives with, useful, interesting, compelling, share-worthy content that they can put into their social networks and create value for themselves in something that is so very important, there is a role for brands in that. So given all of this context, what are we going to do? Well, at Coca-Cola, we developed about 2 years ago our liquid and linked marketing communications agenda. Why liquid and linked? Well, liquid, because as I said, in this socially networked world, we want all of our content to go to the furthest endpoints. Right? We want it to scale and spread. That's a good thing for us. We call that productivity. That's good. But in so doing, if it becomes unlinked, detached from the brand strategy, it's no good, right? Because the goal is not more. And I think brand marketers are getting confused by this in the hunt for more and more communication, right? The constant engine of content that we all need. The goal is not more. It's more good. Don't deconstruct the good from more, right? We want more good content on strategy, not just more content. 6,000 brand impressions daily for consumers, they don't need more. They need more good content. So while these feel antithetical, we say liquid and spreading as far as it can, but deeply linked to the strategy, it is by definition that these two pull against each other. It's the only way we will create the goodness that we want to for our brands. So there's 3 areas of focus. When we talk about stories, stories is a big word for us. It means all brand content, all brand conversation, all brand experiences. What do we want those stories to do? Well, we want them to spread through owned, earned, shared, and paid media, with social at the heart. Social is absolutely critical, but it is not a silver bullet. Social in and of itself will not get us where we need to go for our brands, but it makes everything else you do better. And that's how we think about social. So stories that spread, what do we want those stories that spread to do? Well, we of course want them to create value. Certainly a value for our company, for our brands. We would call that brand love and brand value, the 2 enduring metrics of success for Coca-Cola. But in today's times, in today's society, it is no longer acceptable for companies the size of the Coca-Cola company to create simply value for ourselves. Society will not accept that from any of us, from any of the brands that you work on. You must, in fact, create a value that transcends your company, that creates value for your partners, in your supply chain, in the communities in which you operate, and indeed for the world, a shared value. So that's the construct that we're thinking about for our marketing. I wanted to give you 5 learnings that we've had in the journey today. There have been 500, to be honest. But I'm just gonna, for the sake of time, we'll cover 5. I heard a great quote recently that said, if you can't say what you're trying to do in a hashtag, you probably haven't made it simple enough. So with that, I offer you 5 hashtag learnings. So let's go to the first one. I'm having technology breakdown here. There we go. The first one is be share-worthy. If you do nothing else with your marketing, be share-worthy. It's the most important thing you can do. In a socially networked world, it is not about the audience that you can reach. We have 73,409,136 fans on Facebook as of 7:15 this morning. We're the largest brand fan page on Facebook, other than Facebook itself, which I think is largely cheating to have your own fan page. That's a big number. It's a huge number. But in a business of 1.8 billion servings every day, I'm actually more interested in the full universe of Facebook, which is 1.2 billion plus. They're a bit cagey about their numbers, right? If I look at our 73,409,136 fans, they are just over one fan or friend away from the full universe of Facebook. Now, we will all accept that there is a Facebook algorithm between those two numbers. But on its face, if I give my community useful, interesting, share-worthy, compelling content that they use to create the currency of success in their life, and they share it into their networks, I reach an ultimate audience far greater than the initial audience I could reach. And that is why at every stage when you're looking at the content that you're developing, you must ask yourself if it has a life further than its initial life. It is imperative now in a socially networked world to do that. So we're moving on here. I'm going to show you a film now, a piece of content that we put out from our Latin America team. Take a look at security cameras. Lovely piece of content that our Latin America team did. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint, hopefully. I'm going to go forward one. By last check on YouTube, with all the translations and everything else, about 10 million views on that piece of content. And right on brand strategy, right? About an optimistic view and lens of the world. And that's the type of content that we should be putting out. Now, as I said, it's not about the 73 million, it's about the 1.2 billion that we can reach with that. Which will lead to the next point, which is embracing your new sales force. Who are your new sales force? These guys, right? These are your new sales force, and it's a little sensitive when I call our fans and our consumers our sales force. People are like, well, that's, it's a bit awkward, right? But it's not, because these are the hand raisers. These are the people who have joined the communities that you're running. And by the way, being a member of a community is optional, right? When we misstep in any of our communities, our disconnects from those communities go up by 4x. People leave with their feet if they don't like what you're doing. So by virtue of them being there, they're looking for the content. They're looking for the conversation on your brand, and we want to recognize that. I'm going to show you a brief 30-second video from one of our super fans. Her name is Jess Paul. She put out this piece of content. She has her own YouTube handle on YouTube. She put out this piece of content. We found it. She never sent it to us. We found it. Take a look at her film.
Brendan?
Okay, at the end she says, Brendan, are you in there? And Brendan is the lead singer, Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco, who was one of the singers on our song. So she took our anthem, made her own story, right? She knows a lot about it. She puts this out on her Twitter handle. I mean, I'm the head of marketing communications of the company. I should be made nervous by this woman, right? I mean, I had nothing to do with this, but it's lovely storytelling, right? So we find it, and we get in contact with her, and we say, hey, Jess, you know, what do you think about if we kind of took your story and did something with this? And she said, great. I mean, go back to that picture, right? What she want? Fame, fortune. We're the Coca-Cola company. We can have a conversation about this. Do you think before Jess put out that film that we got a letter asking for permission to use the world's third most valuable brand at $79 billion of value? You think she sent a text, a tweet, anything for permission? Did anyone see the world's most valuable music brand over her right shoulder, Abbey Road? I couldn't afford the rights on that piece of film, right? I mean, this is what consumer-generated content looks like now. The most nervous people in your building, your attorneys, right? Because the marketers are saying, give the IP away, it'll be fine, you know, let the consumer, right? So this is the new world order, right? Fantastic stories, authentically told stories, deeply on brand strategy that have the opportunity to become a currency that people can use in their lives, teens and young adults. Anyone know this man? Anyone ever seen this guy? Everyone on my team knows who this man is. I'm gonna click one time. This is his Twitter handle, Boy Wonder Joel. His name's Joel Robinson. He's a special education teacher from Canada. We found him on Flickr. He was uploading beautiful pictures of Coca-Cola bottles and drinks and beautifully lit, fantastic. We reached out to him and we started a conversation with him. We asked him if he would curate our Flickr page because we weren't doing an exceptional job of it. He started doing that, tripled the community on our Flickr page through an authentic conversation, someone who deeply loved photography and Coca-Cola. So this year, in advance of the FIFA World Cup in Brazil next year, we just kicked off the trophy tour, which we will take the trophy to 89 countries around the world. And we needed a photographer. And we thought, well, why don't we ask Joel if he'd like to go on the trip with the trophy? And so now, Joel is running, we're gonna click one more time, our trophy tour handle. He's actually taking all the photography and he's doing all of the uploading and commenting on the trophy tour for us. This is a super fan. He knows our brand inside and out. He loves our brand, it's completely authentic. And we're gonna click one more time, is going on the trip of a lifetime, right? 89 countries around the world with us. We have divine authority to do something like this, and take the trophy. We kicked off in Rio. It will go to 89 countries. We'll come back to Rio in advance of the game. 89 countries, 92,000 miles. 1 million fans will interact with the trophy. And is it about the million? No, it's not about the million. It's about who the million are networked to. The million are gonna have their photo with the trophy. They're gonna put it in their social networks and we reach an audience far greater than the initial audience we reached. The definition of operating in a socially networked world. They all have once in a lifetime experiences.